Can a resume be 2 pages? I'm in the middle of a series of a few different updates and pieces of information on resumes. And the question that I'm most commonly asked, believe it or not, is can a resume be 2 pages? And I have a couple of answers on this. My baseline answer is yes, a resume can be 2 pages. In fact, I think if you're a professional with any amount of experience, then your resume should be 2 pages. So we'll say 5 years of experience or more, your resume should be 2 pages long. You probably have plenty of things to say. Certainly if you have a 10-year career, you can do that. And if you have education pieces and things, if you think about it, and you have a 1-page resume, by the time you put in a upfront sort of overview statement, which I think is really key to capture the skimmer's attention, then you put an experience piece in there and an education piece. There's not a lot of detail that you can put in that experience piece that can catch someone's eye in 1 page. I think you need 2. So yes, a resume can be 2 pages. I think it ought to be 2 pages for most professional hires. If you are a new graduate, say 5 years of experience and under, what I'll say is stick with 1 page. 1 page is the way to go. You don't need a lot of detail about your academic career. No one is really paying attention to that when they're interviewing you. The clubs and experiences and things of that nature, if you can, as you have more and more in your professional experience, that you can start pulling out pieces of your academic experience. And the professional experience is far more impactful than the academic experience. Now, here's the next question. Can a resume be more than 2 pages? And my answer to that is maybe. It could be. The truth of the matter is nobody actually prints a resume anymore. The hard line between 1 page and 2 page isn't as hard of a line. I think the big deal is making sure that you're maintaining the attention of your audience. You have 3 main audiences for your resume. The first audience is the applicant tracking system. In this one, length actually helps you. You can put in all the keywords that are related to the job. You can pack that thing full of things that will make you look like a perfect match for the job and ultimately be more likely to be surfaced as a resume that should be viewed by the recruiter and make it to step 2. Now, for companies who have some level of technological capability, believe it or not, that's not all of them. Usually the larger the corporation, the lower their technical capability. They're usually on these HRIS systems that are typically less advanced than the dedicated recruiting tools that kind of a small, mid-sized company might be. If you're a Fortune 100, assume they're not particularly technologically advanced. It's very hard for them to innovate, honestly. They have a harder time there. In that case, your first audience is the recruiter. And you want to make sure that you leave plenty of space for an objective statement. And again, I don't use objective statements. I use an overview statement. I think objectives are kind of silly. Like, my objective is to get this job that I sent you a resume for, and that should be pretty obvious by the fact that I sent you the resume. The overview is, hey, here's everything you need to know about me in 3 sentences or less, right? My name's Jason Roberts. I've been a recruiter for 25 years. I'm really good at recruiting these types of people, and I've worked for the following companies that should be really impressive to you. So I put that in my list. That's what I send, and that's at the very top of my resume. Make sure you have room for that. The other thing is that recruiter is going to spend a few seconds on the resume. So instead of having a really long resume, what I would do in this case is I would actually stack the resume with things that are specifically listed in the job description. So every time you submit a resume, it should be a different resume depending on the job that you're applying for. Even if you're applying at the same company, most companies have the ability for you to submit multiple resumes into their applicant tracking system. I bet you didn't know that. That's true. You can submit multiple resumes to the same company, and it's okay. It's absolutely fine. So what you do is you take a look at your background, you look at your skills and your experience, and you look at the job description. You say, all right, bullet 1 says, I need experience in purple squirrel hunting. So I did that at this one company. It wasn't my main gig, but I did have experience with it, and it wasn't that hard. I know I can do it again. So I make sure that I have a bullet on that resume for purple squirrel hunting. And you insert that right there in your resume. Now, Most of the time, that's probably not going to make it. But in this case, it is. What I tend to do is I keep one super long resume. My actual resume is, I think, 7 pages. It's almost a curriculum vitae. If you want to know what the difference between a resume and a CV is, CVs are oftentimes used in academic research. Outside the US, it's very common to use a CV, and it is a comprehensive document with all of your academic stuff, conferences attended, grant proposals, all of those sorts of things go into your CV, along with where you worked, what you did, that sort of thing. So it's comprehensive, and basically the idea is to understand everything you know, how you think, what's influenced how you think. That's a CV. I keep a full CV. I keep a full CV with everything I've ever done, articles I've written, blogs I've published. I've been recognized or interviewed in different magazines, The Economist and CIO and a couple of others. All of that goes in this CV, 7 pages or so long. When I submit a resume, it's 2 pages. And I delete out everything from that long form document that's not immediately relevant to a bullet on the job description. And I go back through the job description a second time, double check to make sure that there's something on my resume for each of those bullets. And if there's nothing that I've ever added to my CV, and I've done it in the past and this particular company cares about it, then I do. So I ultimately have implemented lots of these different HR systems and touched different technologies. Typically what I'll see is someone will ask about experience with one particular tool, and I'll say, yeah, I've done that. I've absolutely had experience with that. That was important for my engagement over a 8 or 9 month time period. So I would put that down, even though it's not necessarily a highlight of my career that I put on my go-to 2-pager. For that company, that's the one that I give them. Be ready to edit. Can your resume be more than 2 pages? The answer is, I wouldn't submit a resume that's more than 2 pages, but your full CV, you can have whatever you want on there. Now, I've worked with headhunters before. The last role that I took, I was placed by an executive search firm called Heidrick & Struggles. They were very nice to me and took care of me there. They got a full CV, and I let them do the customization. They knew what the client was looking for. I let them go into the details. They came back to me and asked specifically what I was looking for, if I had experience with 1 or 2 other pieces, and I said, yes, here's where I did that, and they inserted those things for me. So they followed the same process, by the way. They followed the exact same process to make sure that the client that they were working with knew that they were submitting a quality candidate that matched their overall qualifications. Overall, you can submit a resume that's longer than two pages. Sum up, here's what we've all come up with here. If you're new in your career, if you're early career, 0 to 5 years, 1 page is the answer. 5 years and beyond, you can start going into 2 if you have something to say, and specifically align it to the job description. At 10 plus, the more senior career individuals, that's where most of us spend most of our career. For those people, keep a long form CV. That's your copy that you just use. Customize for every single job. Hopefully this helps you find your next job and a better thing. I need to ask you to do 2 things for me. First thing, I'm starting this, trying to give you information that you asked for. So I need some help with subscribers, likes, engaging with this, put comments in. I'd really like to know your thoughts. If you think I need to edit something, change something, help me out. I'm learning as I go here. My goal is just to give you the information that you need in order to be in a better position to land the job that you want next. The second thing, I have lots of resume tips, and I've boiled them down to the top 10. And if I have that in a free guide, you can use it as a checklist when you go through and clean up your resume. That is available on my site at execcongress.com/resume. execcongress.com/resume. And it'll take you to a site, and you can download that PDF. I would use that to edit your resume. So hopefully that's helpful to you, and hopefully all of this helps you find your next job, your dream job, helps you find a better thing.